Let's take a look at doing a rotary test in Citation 2. So the rotary test switch checks all of the really critical systems on the airplane when we're still on the ground pre-flighting. The way that we check that is by turning on the main battery master so that everything has power. And we're going to go through the rotary test positions one by one. Doesn't matter if we go to the right or left, clockwise or counterclockwise, it makes no difference. We're just checking each system individually. So I like going clockwise. We'll start by going to the fire warning test. When we turn that over to fire warning, first of all, in any position here, we're going to see the test LED light come on the rotary test. And that shows that it's in a test mode, so whatever indications we're seeing in the cockpit are for testing purposes. They're not actually happening. So the first position I went to here, fire warning, all we're going to see is that both fire warning lights illuminate on the panel, and we're not going to get a master warning, only get those fire lights to illuminate. When I go to landing gear position, we're going to get all three green, the red gear unlocked light, and the gear warning horn to sound. So all four lights are going to illuminate and the gear warning horn will sound, and we should be able to silence that horn. So we see all lights illuminated, we heard the horn, and we can silence the horn. Coming back over here to the battery temp position, that is for aircraft that have the older NICAD style battery. This airplane has been upgraded to have a lead acid battery, so it really doesn't have any issues with thermal runaway. So even though there's a position here on the rotary test for testing the battery temp indicator, that doesn't do anything in this airplane. So we'll skip past that. The spare position is just what it sounds like. It's a spare. There's nothing hooked up to it. So the next position would be in a couple clicks for the thrust reversers. The thrust reversers test is to show that all 6 lights for the thrust reversers illuminate, and it also checks the circuitry to detect if a thrust reverser comes unlocked in flight. It would give us a master warning. So when I do that, we should get a master warning that is resettable, as well as all 6 lights. So we come up here to the panel, we see all 6 lights showing that the arm unlock and deploy light on both sides are functioning. We see the master warning flashing, and we can reset it. Moving on to the windshield temp indication, or the windshield temp position, I should say. We don't see anything initially, but what we're looking for is the windshield air overheat annunciator to come on when we go into the windshield bleed air high or low position. So I'm going to push it down into the low position. We see the windshield air overheat light illuminated. I turn it off, it extinguishes. I go up in the high position, it comes on, illuminates, back into the off position, and it extinguishes. Now looking at the overspeed position on the rotary test, we will hear the overspeed warning horn if we were to overspeed the aircraft in flight. This is what we'd hear. That horn is working correctly. Then we have a spare position, which is just what it sounds like. And then the last position is the annunciators. So when we go to annunciator, we should see all of the lights pretty much all across the panel. Definitely the annunciator panel, but really all the indications around the panel should illuminate to test light bulbs, test LED digits, things like that. And we'll get a master warning when we move to that position. The master warning is not cancelable. It doesn't matter how many times I press that, it's not going to go away. And we see that the RVSM altimeter is showing all the indications. The panel, the annunciator panel is showing everything. And the RVSM altimeter on the other side is working as well. Then when I move to the off position, we should see that the test light extinguishes, the master warning extinguishes, and we're basically back to normal indications. I briefly want to talk about a couple of the differences between the rotary test on the Citation 2, which is what I'm showing here, versus the later models like the Citation 5 or the Ultra or the Encore. A couple things. One is that in the Citation 2, notice that there's no stick shaker or a stall test, because the Citation 2 doesn't have a stick shaker. The 5 and the Ultra and the Encore all have stick shakers, but that's not equipment on the Citation 2, so there's no rotary test position for it. Also like to point out that we do not need to have the avionics switch on to do the rotary test. So I could leave that off the whole time and it doesn't make any difference, as opposed to in the Ultra and the Encore, you do need to have that avionics power turned on, particularly for the overspeed test. And then on the anti-skid system, the Citation 2 does not have an anti-skid test either, even though we have anti-skid on the panel. The airplane is equipped with it. There's no anti-skid test incorporated into the rotary test position. That's normal. And those are the primary differences that you'll see in a Citation 2, which is what I'm showing here, as opposed to the later models.